RFK Jr., he's part of the Trump administration. He just announced that food dyes would be banned. We're talking Red 40. We're talking Blue 69. Food dyes are banned. Let's take a look.
Thank you to Dr. Mark Hyman, who's been my friend and partner on these issues for over 20 years. Thanks, Vonnie Harry, who's been an extraordinary leader. And then Marty McCary, I'm so grateful that you agreed to join the administration. And Jay Bhattacharya, will you guys come up here and stand behind me?
I think you really have to look at this as an act of good, because if you are a father and you bring your kid to a grocery store and you ask him to pick out a cereal, any cereal box your kid picks out is going to have chemicals you can't pronounce, nor can your son pronounce, on the back of it. And there will be, and I say chemicals plural for a reason, there are so many fucking chemicals in these cereals, artificial flavorings and coloring. What I never understood is, why is it legal to have artificial coloring when we have natural coloring? Like, why? I know it's cheaper. I understand why businesses who make food would want to use artificial coloring and artificial dyes, because it's way less expensive and they can make more money doing it. But if there is a healthier and safer alternative, why would that not just be the law? Are they lobbying for it? I assume that's what they're doing. I assume that Big Cereal is lobbying for this kind of stuff, or like Kellogg's, fucking General Mills. As much as I enjoyed Lucky Charms when I was younger, I would probably be very upset if I had to read the nutrition facts and see what's in it. We use fruit color. They taste better. In Canada, well, yeah, Canada, I assume there's different laws around this sort of stuff. And if what you're saying is true, then I would hope that these are laws that soon get put into place here. And it's also crazy. Let's take a look at how is Red 40 made. Dude, this is fucking sickening, okay? So Red 40, also known as Allura Red AC, is a synthetic food dye made through a chemical reaction involving two types of sulfonic acids. Specifically, it's created by combining toluene, sulfonic acid, and naphtha. I can't pronounce this shit! Jesus Christ. Like, there is also different purities to each Red 40, a batch that's synthesized. So the Food Drug Administration, the FDA, requires each batch of Red 40 to be screened for purity and any potential contaminants. That's because it's fucking synthesized. And so you can say, well, yeah, they look for purity and everything. Well, yeah, but specifically like chemical impurities, I mean, that's going to be something where the thing itself is the fucking impurity, right? Like, that's like looking for like dog shit within dog shit, you know? It's crazy. And so, yeah. And oftentimes these Red 40 dyes are put into things that are already borderline bioweapons. Like, Red Gatorade has 56 grams of sugar in it or something like that. And sugar is poison. It's in everything, bro. Sugar is in fucking baby formula. Did you know that? It's in ketchup. You think of ketchup being sweet? It's crazy. Like, you're born addicted. If it's in baby formula, you're born a fucking sugar addict. You know, it's insane. It's absolutely insane. And there needs to be a strong crackdown against this kind of stuff, or else people are going to be forever obese, as we already are. There's going to be sicknesses and illnesses born from this sort of diet, because this is not how people should be eating. And, you know, instead of cutting sugar out of the diet, a lot of people would rather get on pills and drugs that have even more risk and side effects than the Pop-Tarts and fucking cereal that people are just, you know, cramming down their throat. And so if you look at that and you're like, okay, so I'm such a lazy fat fuck that I would rather go on Ozempic than stop eating this shit, you know, like, it's crazy. And so what you have to do is make it so that the options for the amount of shit that you can put in your throat are not like, you know, poison A and poison B. So RFK, hopefully he's doing something good here. And I'm sick of it, bro. And if you look at like young kids who are having Pop-Tarts in their lunchbox because their wine-addicted drunk bitch mom is not there and doesn't care enough about her son to make him a lunch for the day and instead gives him a Pop-Tart, that kid is going to be geeked out of his mind because of all of the sugar and the processed sugar, might I add, that the Pop-Tart has put into his bloodstream. So he's going to be bouncing off the walls, and then he's going to get a bad report card, and then he's going to be put on ADHD medication, and then he's going to be on fucking amphetamines, and then he's going to be tweaking even more, and then he's going to fight someone in school, and then he's going to get arrested at a young age. It's a never-ending cycle of abuse. Just so you know, there is nothing that these people want to do other than get you fucking hooked.
We have an amazing team at HHS. When my uncle was president in the 1960s, we had the healthiest people in the world. And one of the basic assumptions of our country was that because we were robust people, because we were vigorous, because we were tough, we had what my uncle called this beef jerky toughness, that was responsible for our country being the land of the brave and the home of the free. The greatest industrial power in the world, the wealthiest country. We owned half the wealth on earth when my uncle was president, and part of that was because of the vigor of our society.
That's another great point. If you look at school curriculum, if you look at gym class and fitness requirements that the state would have on public schools, those have gone in the shitter, and no one cares anymore. Why are gym teachers fat? Why are gym teachers fat as fuck? You can say I'm mad, I'm crashing out. White people, when the function doesn't have potato salad? Yeah, I'm triggered, bro, because it is actually crazy. Like, gym teachers are fat as fuck. Why is that the case? And also, like, if you look at, there was like school programs for public school, and they had fitness requirements. They actually required a level of physical aptitude that took training, endurance, and would overall lead to a healthy, prosperous life. And so you look at it now and it's a fucking joke. Yeah, I liked going under the parachute when I was in first grade. That was cool. But I have to say, maybe it's probably time for people who are in high school to be mandated some sort of gym class, or some sort of health or fitness program, like a serious thing. Because there are so many outs now. You can basically take like some non-sport like pickleball as your, PE credits, and it counts, but it shouldn't count because pickleball is fucking pickleball. Like, you're not, you run around the court a little bit. It's like diet tennis. It's kind of a joke. It's all cardio. You're not doing any weight training. And so it's a little bit of a joke. Pop-Tart Prison Pipeline, Toaster Strudel Chads. Hey, thank you for the $2. Dude, I don't know if Pop-Tarts should even be legal anymore, because I have a general test that I look at, and if you look at the stoners, look at stoners and look at their diets, right? Look at their favorite foods. Those foods are readily available. They shouldn't be. If stoners are feeling like this is going to satiate them when they're high out of their mind, you should stay the fuck away from it. Like a nice avocado chicken salad, no carbs, no sugars. The stoner is going to look at that and throw up and say, where the pizza at? That's when you have to look at the chicken salad and be like, yeah, I think I'll take that. Well, I'm a stoner and all I eat is saltines. Yeah, saltines. I mean, that's just like, that's enriched wheat. Like, that's folic acid sprayed on the grains before they're harvested. Do you know what folic acid is? Do I have to look this up for you? What is folic acid? Because maybe I can steer you away from the saltines. And I'm not trying to be mean. We're gonna be nice to you here, okay? So folic acid is the synthetic form of folate, a B vitamin essential for various bodily functions like cell growth and development, especially during pregnancy. Right. Now that is the Google Search Labs AI overview answer. We don't want that because that's what is enriched wheat? Enriched wheat flour is refined wheat flour, meaning the bran and germ have been removed to which specific nutrients have been added back. These nutrients are required for certain flour products to be labeled as enriched. Enriched wheat flour is not natural. It's not fully organic. They spray it with chemicals, and it's in basically everything that you eat, and it's not like that in other countries.
And that's one of the reasons he started the Presidential Council on Physical Fitness, because he felt that Americans were getting soft, and it was going to steal from us and erode all of our leadership, our moral authority, and our values, and our role as an exemplary nation. And since his death, we've had this extraordinary chronic disease epidemic. When my uncle was president, 3% of American kids had chronic disease. Today, it's around 60%.
Yeah.
And these are a broad category, the ones that Marty mentioned, like ADHD, the neurological disorders, ADD, ADHD, speech delay, language delay, tics, Tourette syndrome, narcolepsy, ASD, and autism. All of these are injuries that I never heard of when I was a kid. They were not part of the nomenclature. They weren't part of the dialogue. There was zero spent in this country treating chronic disease when my uncle was president. Today, it's about $1.8 trillion.
Jesus
annually.
Christ.
It's bankrupt.
$1.8 trillion. And if you don't think that psychiatrists or like these pill mills have any, vested interest in making that number go higher and higher by getting kids on amphetamines, you're out of your fucking mind. It's a market. It's an industry. It's a GDP. Okay? This is what this shit is. This is a money-making machine. And so, yeah, I think also, why would they stop? And you can't stop now, especially when there's people being told that it's actually affirming to these kids who are struggling to put them on fucking pills. It's not. I mean, that's crazy. Did this guy just say that autism is caused by diet? No, but I mean, if you look at the amount of chemicals that are in our food and you look at specific things that have been recently added to the human diet, it definitely correlates with the rise of autism, for sure, and the rise of all these other chronic illnesses. So, I mean, I think people view this as like a left-wing or right-wing issue because RFK Jr. is part of Trump's cabinet, but I think that it's not really about left or right, It's about being able to eat food without slowly dying and killing yourself and killing our society. That's kind of the goal. Acheeto, have you been diagnosed with FSS, speaking facts syndrome? Okay. It's too politicized? Well, yeah, of course it is. Like they'll basically say that he's an anti-vaxxer as in order to paint him as some sort of enemy of the people. But I think overall, when you look at the initiatives, they're totally in the interest of the people more than anything else. In no way is it beneficial for people to have this easy of a time getting access to synthesized chemicals, that are disguised oftentimes. Oftentimes they're disguised as healthy foods. And if they're not disguised, well, then they're even worse because then that should be definitely have some sort of a label on it. Because when we say disguised, when I say that something is disguised, I'm talking about, a bottle of maybe healthy juice, but it's got 60 grams of processed sugar and then chemicals up the wazoo. That's what I kind of mean by disguised, right? That's mostly a branding thing. And when I say not disguised, it's like Cookie Crisp. Cookie Crisp isn't trying to tell you that it's healthy. However, it's also not like labeled with something like, hey, this is fucking terrible for you. And that's what I think it should have. It should have some sort of explicit label saying, hey, this contains synthesized chemicals, or it's genetically modified, or if whatever, if something is, genetically modified. Cookie Crisp is not, there's no genetics in Cookie Crisp. But, yeah, I mean, like, that's kind of what I'm getting at here. People think that, like, snacks are being banned. Like, stuff that kids want to just munch on are going to be completely banned. It's like, no, these companies are just going to be put into a position where they have to manufacture things under a certain criteria. He's not banning snacks, he's banning poison. Like, there's a difference. And I think that actually matters.
Our nation, 74% of American kids cannot qualify for military service. Oh, how are we going to maintain our global leadership with such a sick population?
Okay, that's not really a thing that I'm sad about. Like, we don't qualify for military service. Oh, no.
We have all these autoimmune diseases, these exotic diseases. And again, I never heard of juvenile diabetes, rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, Crohn's disease, and 100 others that were just unknown when I was a kid. I never knew anybody with a peanut allergy. I never knew anybody with a food allergy. Why do 5 of my 7 kids have allergies? I never knew of anybody who had eczema. I knew of a very small number of children who had asthma, but that has exploded as well today. And our fertility is dropping dramatically. Teenagers in this country today have the same testosterone.
Like the amount of sperm count decreasing. You guys want to know where that comes from? It begins with an M, ends in microplastics. Guys, I've been saying it. Phthalates. The plastic, it's in fucking everything, bro. There is absolutely no reason that microplastics, and there's credit cards worth of plastic in people's testicles. It's endocrine disruptors. I'm so glad my chat gets this because it is in no way defensible and should be completely outlawed and needs to be something where the government does something, because if they're going to make laws around what I can put into my body in the form of a drug, if I can't, smoke crack, I certainly don't want it to be like, okay, well, you can't smoke crack, but you can make yourself infertile from drinking Logan Paul's Prime drink, which, had rumors of phthalate content. And maybe I don't want to say Logan Paul's Prime drink because I don't want to get sued. But even the things that are supposed to be good for you, like the Fairlife protein shakes, those have phthalates in it. And it actually has a lot of it. I made a video about this, and it needs to be banned. Dude, even things that you think are microplastic free because they're in a metal can, there's a plastic lining in the metal can that seeps microplastic into whatever you're drinking. It's so rigged. It's unbelievable. Anyway, dude, check out this chart, dude. Horrible, depressing chart of phthalate content in common foods. At the top, we have Fairlife Core Power High Protein Milkshake Chocolate Plastic. Total phthalates per serving nanograms. 20,000 nanograms. Now, I don't know the nanograms to grams or milligrams thing. If you're having like one of these... Let's do the calculations, okay? So let's do 20,000 nanograms into milligrams. So it's 0.02 milligrams, okay? How many milligrams in a gram? 1,000. So, okay, it's not even close to a gram. But again, let's do the math. Let's say you have 2 Fairlifes a day, okay? Over the span of a year. So that's 0.4 times 365. That's 14.06 milligrams. So that is 0.14 grams of plastic. Crazy. Okay? And as you saw earlier, these things are linked to low testosterone, infertility, and heart disease. Bro, I think the low testosterone is the worst because these are being consumed by the gym bros that are trying to do the fucking opposite of low testosterone. They're trying to get a shredded body, be in shape, be a warrior, a Spartan, you know, one of the killers that they see in the Sigma edits. And unfortunately, this whole time, their best friend, their sidekick, the Fairlife Core Power Protein Milkshake was a fucking traitor. To help figure out the scope of the problem. Anyway, just wanted to bring that up because the microplastic, it needs to be stopped.
The teenagers in this country today have the same testosterone levels as 68-year-old men. Our girls are reaching puberty 6 years early, from 10 to 14 years old. And this is existential for our country. And we have to address it. And one of the probably, you know, when I met with, and I want to commend the food companies for working with us to achieve this agreement or this settlement. And when I went in a few months or about a month ago to meet with a few food companies, I was talking with my staff about these petroleum-based dyes, and I said if they want to add petroleum, if they want to eat petroleum, they ought to add it themselves at home. But they shouldn't be feeding it to the rest of us.
It's a great point.
Without our knowledge or consent. And unfortunately, we're going to get rid of the dyes, and then one by one, we're going to get rid of every ingredient and additive in food that we can legally address.
Good.
One of the problems is at the industry, which all of these industries cast a dark shadow historically over this agency.
I think also culturally, we've made it so that being mentally ill and physically sick is kind of something to, you know, be proud of. And it's like, you know, it's cool. Like on TikTok, people are doing like, put a finger down, depression edition. And it's like people like doing their symptoms and shit. And then you have people that are also just like, based on the way I dress, get ready with me to go to my psychiatrist appointment. So it's just like completely normalized. I don't want to say that it's cool. Like I don't think people think it's cool, but it's certainly something that people view as like a core part of their identity in the same way that I would say like my favorite color is red. Like my favorite color being red isn't cool, but it's something about me, and it's like some people might think it's cool. It's like a personality trait. Those motherfuckers who put their disorders in their bios, yeah, basically. And so I think what he's trying to do, RFK, is just make being healthy cool again. Get rid of all this shit. No disorders in your bio. Please, like stop. Like I'm sick of it. I think people like being mentally ill to some extent, or at least, you know, teenagers, I should say, because it provides them with the sort of victimhood that they don't get because they're usually like white, you know? Like it'll be like a white teenager who's pretty comfortable and now they have ADHD. So, you know, whenever something is going on and they feel the need to act up or something, they can say it's my ADHD and no one understands it. And you have to be more caring and concerning about my disorder. So that shit needs to go the fuck away, bro.
And there's so many conflicts that we are now systematically eliminating. That has allowed them to suppress the science. There's shockingly few studies, even on food dyes, and on all these other all these other ingredients as
There
well.
should be more studies on
And
it.
Jay Bhattacharya, who is here and who's running, the director of NIH, is now narrowly targeting these kind of food additives for scientific study, so that one by one we can start eliminating them where they can. Where we can't, there's things that we'll never be able to eliminate, like sugar. And sugar is poison, and Americans need to know that. It is poisoning us. It's giving us a diabetes crisis. When I was a kid, I always say this, a typical pediatrician would see one case of diabetes in his lifetime. Today, it's 1 out of every 3 kids who walks through his office door. In our most recent study from NIH, 38% of them.
Someone says sugar isn't bad for you. Processed sugar is absolutely bad for you. And that's where the majority of Americans are getting their sugar from. It's from like candy and sweets and Gatorade and shit. If we're talking about like a mango has sugar in it, no, that's not bad for you. And actually, I mean, it's not bad for you by itself, but yeah, if all you're eating is mango, that's a lot of sugar. That actually is not great for you, but yeah.
Half our adult population. This is existential. We are spending as much on mitochondrial disorders like diabetes as we spend on our military budget.
Is that true?
We can't continue to
Jesus.
exist like this.
That's crazy.
And the problem is industry is making money on keeping us sick.
Right.
As Jay pointed out, ADHD is associated with all these behavioral disorders. But those disorders are treated not by changing our diet, but providing medications to treat our kids. And they get medicated, and that's the only solution.
Yeah.
And, I would point out that there is part of the etiology of these diseases is a kind of
Give them the poison and make them pay for the cure.
media malpractice, a mass psychosis that has our media not talking about this.
Don't you have ADHD? Okay, so diagnosed I do, but I also truly believe that to some extent I've been misdiagnosed, and I also think that I haven't taken any medication for it in years, and I prefer it to be like that. Yeah. And I think I'm completely fine unmedicated. I feel normal. I get distracted sometimes when I'm working and stuff, but I feel like it shouldn't be a mental disorder, I should say. I don't think so.
And
I
one
don't,
of the
I don't believe myself to be mentally ill at all.
possible reasons for that is the amount of money that's coming from the pharmaceutical companies into our media and from these food companies.
Yeah, I mean, if the FDA is supposed to look out for you, and maybe they did once with pink sauce. We did dodge a bullet with having pink sauce be recalled. I'll say that the FDA did score a point there, but if you think that the FDA is looking out for you, like, they're not, like, at all. Like, the same companies lobbying Congress are the ones that are designing school lunches, right? Like, the FDA is approving shit that they know and are getting paid to ignore are bad. That's the point.
For the advertising, the advertising has at least plays a factor. So that revenue, that extraordinary revenue stream.
It's also crazy. So earlier I kind of said it's a good thing that like 70% of teenagers will not be like military qualified or something because of their like physical inaptitude or ineptitude, I should say. I don't know which one it is. But obviously I don't want to go to the military. I think a lot of people do not want to go to the military. I think it's brave if you do, but at a certain point it does become a national security issue. If we do not have soldiers, our military kind of does crumble, and so that is a problem. Like that's literally like a threat to our own safety as a country. So yeah, we're kind of like eating ourselves into losing the next war.
And disabling their capacity or their inclination for skepticism and for critical thinking. So Americans don't know what they're eating, and they don't know the implications of those things. And for those products, Mark Hyman says in his book, the 10-day sugar detox diet, which I'll give a plug to, is a very good book. He talks about how dangerous sugar is and how it's as addictive as crack. And our children are addicted to it from when they're little kids. Our agency recommends, I think, a huge amount of sugar for kids from when they're born.
Yeah.
And it's
They're
hurting
born
them,
addicted,
and it's addicting them, and it's changing their taste buds so that they crave it. and it's disabling our population. So for those ingredients that we can't ban legally, we're going to start informing Americans about what they're eating.
Good.
And we're going to try to work with Congress and the White House to make sure that we have adequate labeling so mothers who go into the grocery stores know what is good for their children and what is not. I want to say one other thing about the moms. When I went and spoke for the first time, and I met with the heads of all the food industry companies, one of the things that they said to us is that the worst thing for us is if we have a patchwork of legislation in all these different states, because then we're not capable of marketing nationally distributed products, because we're going to have different regulations in every state. And they didn't want that, and that's one of the reasons they came to the table with us. I want to thank Speaker Schultz, and I want to thank Governor Morrissey, and I visited many other governors in Virginia and West Virginia, in Arizona and Utah and other states that are banned, that are having these local bans. Those bans have given us leverage to make demands in the food company, and the only reason that those states have banned these products is because of these ladies and millions of more across the country, the warrior moms who have powered the MAHA movement.
Well, and you have to imagine these are parents who have looked into the stuff that has been brought up, and they're like, wow, like, this is affecting my child, and there's nothing a mom cares more about than their son or daughter, and they're going to do everything in their power to make sure that they're actually eating healthy and living healthy, and that they're getting outside. Like, you may have thought that your mom was kind of pestering you or nagging you to get off the computer or get off the game when you were younger, but when your mom was telling you to play outside, and, you know, she maybe didn't want you to eat brownies all day, and maybe she sent you to fat camp or something, that's all out of love. Like, that's all out of caring for you. Feel bad for RFK having to deal with spasmodic dysphonia. Yeah, that's like his voice thing, right? Yeah, it definitely is, you know, probably sucks to deal with, but yeah. Shout out to the moms.
And I just want to urge all of you, it's not the time to stop. It's the time to redouble your efforts, because we have them on the run now, and we are going to win this battle. And 4 years from now, we're going to have most of these products off the market, or you will know about them when you go in the grocery store. So I want to thank you. And finally, and most importantly, I want to thank President Trump. President Trump often, says that he's going to make America great again. But he knows that he cannot make...
Well, obviously, greatness stems from health. For a people to be truly great, they can't just be all fat, lazy, and depressed and mentally ill. Like, people joke about soy boys and, like, low T. You'll see it in the Instagram comment section and stuff like that. But RFK is actually pointing out that it's true, that it's on the rise chemically. It's great. It really is great. People talk about, like, make America great again. I genuinely think it's great. It is a great thing that these are the steps being taken by RFK to truly do something to improve the quality of the food that people are eating and hence their health. I think that diagnosing kids with any mental disorders until they're 15 is risky. Maybe wait until 16, early diagnosing and instant medication is a slope. So I think that I would disagree with that, because you can tell pretty quickly if a kid has something like, let's say, Down syndrome or autism, or if they're nonverbal or something like that. But I think for certain things, like, yeah, you should probably wait for it, especially if you look at like ADHD or ADD. Like, that's a thing that where if you're looking at a kid and they're hyperactive, because that's what the H in ADHD is, every kid is hyper, right? So it's hard to look at that and say that it's symptomatic of this greater mental illness when it's really a symptom of being young. It's a symptom of having high energy. So I would disagree with that, but thank you so much for the donation.
Make our country great again. If our country is weak, if we're not healthy, if we don't have...
Well, yeah, I'm talking about ADHD and depression. Yeah, I think those are two things that I think you're specifically kind of on the money for, yeah. But I think either way, if we're talking about diagnosing or not, I think there has to be some greater regulations around the kinds of medication that we're giving out. I think that's really the biggest thing is like, if you're looking at the medication, it's given out way too much and, you know, the side effects are crazy. I mean, a lot of the side effects for these antidepressants are depression. Like they'll say like side effects for this thing are worsened depression, dark thoughts, we'll say, appetite suppressant, you won't be eating, delusions and delirium. It is all these sorts of side effects that I feel like you as a 16 or 15-year-old cannot fully consent to, if you're asking me. I feel like, I don't know though. I mean, obviously one of the things in medicine and medication is you have to look at if the risks outweigh the benefits. So if someone is really like on the verge of taking, then maybe the risk of something bad happening with the medication is worth it because it could fix that. So yeah.
Have vigor if we're not a robust people. He says that he's going to restore the American dream. And a healthy person has 1,000 dreams. The sick person only has one.
To be healthy.
And right now, there's 60% of the people in this country who have only one dream. If they can make it through a day without pain, with energy, without having to take medications.
Right.
And we are going to change that for our country. And I want to thank the moms and thank President Trump for his confidence in my leadership and for allowing me to surround myself with such an extraordinary team of scientists who are going to restore transparency to this agency, who are going to do replicated science, who are going to restore gold standard science so we know what's in our food and we can eliminate it. Thank you all very much.
There you go. Boom. There you go.
Thank you, Secretary Kennedy. Thank you to everyone for being here, and thank you to the press for attending today. We're going to take some questions from the press. If you can please say your first, last name, and outlet when I call on you, that would be great. Sarah, CNN.
Oh, no.
Here. I got it. Okay. Hi, Sarah Overmall from CNN. Secretary Kennedy, you talked about how sugar is poison and how it's addictive. Is that the next step for you, looking at policies to reduce or even eliminate sugar in food products?
I don't think that we're going to be able to eliminate sugar, but I think what we need to do probably is give Americans knowledge about how much sugar is in their products, and also with the new nutrition guidelines, we'll give them a very clear idea about how much sugar they should be using, which is zero.
Yes.
Hi, Helena Bottomiller-Evich with Food Fix. You mentioned the goal is to work with the food industry to get the most of the major synthetic food dyes out. What is the plan if the food industry does not voluntarily agree to do that?
Are you going to limit margaritas?
And what are the next steps if you can't get agreement within the industry? Thank you.
Well, here the industry has voluntarily agreed. And so, you know, I think as we move forward, we are going to work with the industry. They've shown a lot of leadership on this right now. And in fact, we're getting food companies now and fast food companies who are calling us almost every day and asking us, how do we do this? What do you want us to do? Will you do a press conference with us? And so we're really happy with the reception. I think they're ready to change the industry. They have children too.
Well,
there's no such thing as...
Are they ready or have they been pushed? That's sort of the thing. What about now? Why are they ready now? There has to be a level of skepticism. I feel like if you look at these food companies, like if they're willing to change, I think that they should have been willing to change when they originally started putting in synthetic dyes and things that they know are chemicals into foods that should not
Republican children or Democratic children. their children are going to the same school.
Oh, bullshit, lol. Companies won't do anything that hurts their profits voluntarily. That's kind of what I'm getting at as well. I don't think you can view it as a good faith effort whatsoever when you know at the end of the day, if there's the cheapest way to do something that makes them the most money, they will do it no matter how hard it hurts consumers, even if those consumers are children.
Schools, they're eating the same foods as the rest of us. And I think most of them really want to have a healthier America. They want clear guidelines, and they want to know what they can and can't do, and
Right.
We're going to give them that.
Right. That's good.
Yes.
Hi, Margaret Manto with Notice. I'm wondering if there's any pharmaceutical additives that you'd like to eliminate?
We're going to start on that next. I don't have anything particular there.
That's good.
Yes, in the
I
white.
like that.
Hi, Emily Kopp, Daily Caller. When will HHS FOIA offices be restored? This is important for many of your stated priorities, adverse events, food.
We're working to restore all of them.
What?
FOIA.
When is our FOIA?
A lot of the FOIA offices are eliminated by those.
We're restoring all the FOIA offices. We're going to start a website with all former FOIA requests and the documents that were produced so people don't have to do it again and again.
Why are you listening to the man addicted to substances? He sounds like he has a collapsed lung and spreads anti-vaccination propaganda. Long-time listener, second-time donator. Love your content. Well, I think RFK has a lot of good things to say. I think that, what he was addicted to something. I do remember that being said. Like he had a problem with some sort of drug or something. But look, I think that this is the problem, right? Is I think you have to separate the good from the bad. I think everything he said so far in this, I completely agree with. You know, everything about sugar, everything about red 40 dyes being banned, etc. I think that's all very good. I think vaccination stuff, I'll have to look into it once it arrives. But if we're talking about this sort of stuff, like foods, 100% agree. 100% agree. But so, yeah, I think that if we're talking about public health and stuff like that, it's probably good to eliminate certain food dyes.
And we're going to try to get as close as we can to total transparency in this agency. You know, I spent a lot of years litigating under FOIA. And I experienced the frustration of going year after year and being stonewalled by the agencies. A lot of the people who are in HHS right now come from that background. So we all understand how important it is to have,
Regardless
clear
if topics need to be talked about, yeah.
The papers that we produce in this agency do not belong to us. They belong to the American people, and we need to be honest with them. And let me just answer the question before you about the drugs and the pharmaceutical products and the additives to the pharmaceutical products. Right now, Jay Bhattacharya is working is assembling teams all over the country of scientists at universities and research centers to look at all of those products so that we can have, one of the problems is we don't have good science on everything. And we need to have science before we take policy action.
Yeah, 100%. I think there needs to be good science, not funded science where you can basically control the outcome of the studies. You can pay to get the outcome you want. There's just so much corruption with this kind of stuff. Hopefully it ends up getting better for everyone. I think that's good for us. I think it's good for the people. Yeah.